I would like to have a bird that meows. I'm gonna throw you a curveball.
Hello and welcome back to In Search of 42. My name is, of course, Felix Becker, and I am your very own success coach on this journey we call life. Now, this week, I'm sharing my conversation with Michele Molitor, who is a fascinating individual. She is a coach and a hypnotherapist, and those two modalities work very well together. You will, of course, find out more about this in our conversation together. She has an interesting journey. She comes from a background of web development, but she's been in the coaching sphere now for over 20 years, and so she has seen this industry grow and change over that time, and we'll get into that as well. I think you're going to learn a lot about what coaches do and how they can help you in your own life. Now, as before, a simple request from me: please like, share, subscribe, rate and review, do all those things on your favorite podcasting platform or over on YouTube, and it really helps me build an audience. It helps me reach more people, and the more people I can reach, the more people I can help. But let's get all this mumbo jumbo out of the way and get right into my conversation with Michele Molitor. All right, Michele, so nice to connect with you again. Let's get right into it. Who are you?
Well, I'm Michele Molitor. Nice to see you, Felix. My company's Nectar Consulting, and I'm a coach and hypnotherapist. I've been doing this amazing work for over 23 years now, and I've helped people worldwide because I do all my work via Zoom. So it's super rewarding to help people unlock the trauma that's caught in your nervous system, whether that's big T or little t trauma, and be able to eliminate it, release it from your nervous system, and then rewire your thinking with new beliefs, habits, and strategies for greater success and peace of mind and well-being.
Yeah. Oh my God. There's so much to unpack in what you just said. So, why don't we get back to the beginning here? How did you end up in this space?
And a very circuitous route. I was a creative. I was a creative director in my former life in web development and high tech. It's what brought me out here to the San Francisco Bay Area way back in the early days. And the company I came to work for, they were going to IPO the week I started. I had a golden ticket. I was going to be a millionaire. I was sure of it. And yet the market crashed that week instead. And I continued to build my team, and I had been formerly in Atlanta and had a huge team of over 50 people. And, I thought, oh, this will be easy. It's just 20 folks, right? But it was a whole different mindset in San Francisco at that time, one that I was not accustomed to, shall we say. Very, very big egos I was dealing with. And two of the guys that I hired very quickly made it very clear they didn't like working for me or for women, and took all sorts of interesting steps to undermine my work, my leadership, and ultimately my confidence, which ended up having me be laid off. And it was really, really devastating to my ego, to my confidence, and to my sense of value and worth. I had spent 10 years to get to this position only to be taken out of the knees at the time. And so I stumbled my way into coaching. There was this new thing called career coaching at the time that I had no idea even existed. And from there, I, found what really mattered to me, and building websites wasn't it. I really wanted to make a difference for people. And I had this truly like a whole body visceral moment where all the cells came into alignment and my spirit said, yes, this now, do this now. So I ended up getting trained and certified as a coach the first time, and then started my own company in 2001. And so ever since then, I just got another new certification under my belt just yesterday, actually. And so I'm always learning and growing and learning new and different modalities to help serve my clients as best I can. And about 7 years ago, I discovered this this other healing modality called rapid transformational therapy, or RTT. And it's a form, it combines hypnotherapy with cognitive behavioral therapy with NLP. Is really powerful. And doing the work for myself, it really created some powerful shifts in a very short period of time, like weeks. Stuff I'd been trying to uncover for years, decades, in weeks. I was like, oh, okay, I getcha. So again, I went and got trained and certified and added that into my toolkit, and very quickly saw the power of combining coaching and hypnotherapy together, because coaching works at a conscious level, 10% of your brain. Hypnotherapy works at a subconscious level, which is 90% of your brain, right? So by accessing both parts, we're able to amplify a person's success far more quickly by releasing the old limiting beliefs and replacing them with new beliefs and habits and strategies that we then integrate at a deeper level, using hypnosis, using somatic therapy, using Reiki, using mindfulness. So there's a lot of things that's all incorporated into my work, based in science.
Yeah, and again, you mentioned so many important things that we need to discuss. So there's three things I'm trying to do with these conversations. The one is I want to showcase who people are, what they do, and how they can help people. So you've already alluded to the what and the how a little bit, but I want to get a little bit more about the who. And the reason I'm asking is, of all the people that I've spoken with, everyone that has turned to coaching had some kind of transformational thing happen in their lives where they went into career A, something happened, and now then they became a coach. Maybe there was career B and C in between, but there was some big life altering event that happened that made them pursue coaching instead. And so I'm kind of curious about the web design a little bit, because that was sort of your first career path. What motivated you to pursue that? How did you get into that space, if in at first?
Yeah, sure. Again, part of my circuitous route, because I was in college. I was studying psychology, and I was in my senior year, and um, had a freak out moment, like, oh my god, I can't get a job with a degree in psychology. What am I going to do? Right. So I've loved psychology for a very, very long time. Been fascinated with how humans work, and so in the ninth inning, I decided I needed to pursue graphic design instead, because I think I have this creative thing in me, and psychology is used in advertising, right? Having this conversation with myself and trying to justify it to my parents, who were, graciously paying for my college. And um and so I stepped into that path and started uncovering this creativeness in me. um Graduated, and then promptly informed my family that I was moving to France to be an au pair. And in that process, of living in France for 2 years, I took some drawing classes at Parsons School of Design in France, in Paris, and like, oh, check that out! I can draw. That's pretty cool. Maybe I should do something with that. So, upon coming back to the United States, I ended up moving to Atlanta and going to art school. So I've been a learning junkie for a really long time on various paths. And in art school, I suddenly was a straight A student. I was like, oh, I wish someone had told me this is how my brain worked a long time ago. Like, let me do this, and then I will embody it. So that led me to a 10-year career as a graphic designer and a creative director, which ultimately ended up uh, in web development. I was working in multimedia. I'm dating myself. I worked on Photoshop version 1. Yeah. And that all morphed into the wild west of the internet back in the 90s. And ultimately ended up bringing me here to the Bay Area. So it was a very interesting journey. I still love design. I still paint, um, and love photography, and my my creativity has to come out in various ways. This past year, it's been a lot of writing. I'm working on a new book that's going to be published any minute now, called "I Am Perfectly Flawsome: How Embracing Imperfection Makes Us Better." So it's about overcoming perfectionism, because as a designer, I can tell you that's 2 pixels off, and you need to move it over.
That's fantastic. I actually, and I was going to ask, being in that creative space is very different than being in a coaching sphere, only to the extent that you're trying to create something from yourself versus trying to create something in someone else. And it's a bit of a very different way of looking at it. So that's quite the profound change, and that's why I was going to ask you, what's your creative outlet nowadays? I know I knew about your book, but um, that's fascinating. So, throughout that journey, then how did you find coaching? And I come at this from my own perspective, right? I mean, I had a huge shift as well in my own life, coming from medicine and now being a coach. Um, I didn't know what coaches were until 2022. I didn't know what they did, how they could help me. And it was a completely transformational experience to discover coaching for myself. So, how did you come across the world of coaching?
Well, remember that feeling when you discovered your first coach and you had that first experience and you're like, oh, oh, okay. Yeah, well, I had that back in 2001. No, in 2000. I had that same experience in 2000. Um, and when coaching was still a very nascent industry. And when I got laid off and I had no idea what to do, I was a deer in the headlights. My uncle, who's a veteran of Silicon Valley, he's like, there's this new thing called career coaching. You should get a coach. I was like, okay, Google machine, where do I find a coach? And so I found my first coach, and it was a just like you, it was a very transformative experience. Like, oh, there's all this stuff I didn't even know that was in there that needs to come out. And I had no idea that it was there. And I didn't know how to access it. And I certainly didn't know how to get rid of it. Right. And so coaching is such a powerful process to bring awareness to the parts of us that we've stuffed and buried for so long out of a need for survival, right? To feel safe in our environment in whatever shape or form that may have been, right? So, um, ever since then, I have been fascinated with how the mind works and how human beings be in the world and what makes us tick and why some people are filled with confidence and other people are like, I don't know where you got that supply, but I don't know anything about that, right? Um, and so I've been studying this stuff for over 20 years now, just for my own personal healing journey first and foremost, and then okay, well, how do I apply this to all the wonderful people that I get to be of service to?
Right. Absolutely. No, and I think your point is absolutely well taken. That you applied it to your own personal journey first. Same thing for me. And it wasn't until I truly discovered the transformational change for myself that I got out of coaching that I realized, OMG, I could do this for people. I can actually help people this way, in a very profound and deep and meaningful and satisfying way. So what sparked the idea for you to become a coach yourself then after you had that experience?
It literally, for me, it was a whole body, visceral, spiritual download. Like every cell in my body came into alignment, Felix, and my spirit went, do this now. Do this now. Do not wait. Do not pass go. Do this now. I was like, oh, okay. And I got laid off from my job. 2 months later, I went to work for another startup because working for a solid company like HP was like, no, I'm gonna go with a cool, exciting startup. Great idea. Only to be laid off again 6 months later because they ran out of money. The 100 million in private funding never came. And then 9/11 happened. And it was like my whole being was shaken, like, what's really important? What's really, really important? And I knew that creating websites wasn't it. There wasn't the impact there. And so I just knew. I just knew that this was what I needed to do. And so I hung out my shingle on October 17th, 2001. And I've been doing it ever since.
That's amazing. So, obviously, over the last 20 plus years, the coaching industry has changed tremendously, and you've like you said, it's a very it was very early on. It's very much in its infancy then, and to some degree, probably it still is because so few people truly understand what coaching can do for them. So, what's been your experience of these last 20 some years? How has coaching changed? Both sort of on the global perspective as a whole for the profession, but also for yourself, for your own coaching practice.
Well, it, as it has come more into mainstream and people don't look at you with like three heads, what kind of coach are you? Football? No, no, right? Not that kind of coach. I work with the soft, squishy stuff on the inside, and they're like, "What is? I don't want you dealing with my soft, squishy bits. What? No, thank you." Like, people get really afraid, but because over time it's become more mainstream, people have recognized the benefits of actually dealing with your emotions and looking at, well, how do I actually feel about this? Because we tend to operate from our heads up, right, in business. And we do that. And then we think, okay, I just put that over here on the shelf. Then I go home and then I have my life. But they think, no, these two don't, there's no separating your personal life from your professional life. You're still the common denominator there in the center. And if you're dealing with toxic behaviors at work or toxic cultures, for example, it has a physical impact on your body, on your mind, on your heart. And you can't not take that home. You can't, it, it's just all part of the package of who we are as human beings, right? So being able to help people unpack that for themselves so they can separate, oh, what's happening at work is not who I am, it's just what's happening. And learning how to create discernment and to set clear boundaries and to create better mindsets and stories that they're telling themselves versus letting the negativity from other outside perspectives get in and seep into your nervous system, right? And so it's expanded um, over time, and it's blossoms, right? When I started, there was like 4 schools for coaching. Now there's hundreds. There's different kinds, and there's so many different niches. When I met you, I was thrilled to hear, Felix, that you were an MD. So I really wanted to applaud you, Felix, for moving from being an MD to becoming a coach, because there's such a gap between modern medicine and holistic medicine. My last book, called Breakthrough Healing, is a combination of different healing professions, talks about different healing professions that are holistic, right? There's so many ways to heal the body beyond, here, take this big pharma pill or have this surgery. And so I have learned through all of my studies how powerful our minds are. And we have the power to create um, pain and physical challenges in our body, and we have the power to remove them as well. I've had clients who have had chronic migraines, have had chronic IBS, um, psoriasis, arthritis, and in a matter of 3 to 6 months, combining coaching and hypnotherapy together, I've had clients literally turn off 15 years of IBS, inflammatory bowel disease, to significantly dial down chronic migraines. to quiet their gut so their Crohn's disease was finally manageable. So if we can do that with our minds, what else can we do that we don't realize? When we focus our attention, when we find the way to tap into the vast resources that our mind contains, when you know how, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And on the topic of IBS and Crohn's, for example, that's a big thing in medicine where we think chemicals will be the answer. And what we really fail to realize is how, if you look at the gut, we have millions of neurons in the gut. It only takes a few hundred to form the simplest of simple of brains. So our gut is its own nervous system. And who's to say that we can't steer that through coaching, through hypnotherapy, through some kind of, you know, psychological mindfulness practice to act and behave differently? I would say, any sort of mainstream medical doctor would say this is voodoo and it doesn't work. But if you really look at the basic anatomy of the gut, I would say, why wouldn't it? And so I am absolutely not surprised to hear from you that this is possible, right? Because medicine as a science has not found the answers yet at all, right? I mean, we have band-aid
Right.
approaches for those diseases, but we haven't found the true answer for any of them yet.
Right. That's why they
So
call it a practice, right?
yeah, right. um, but there's also a very limited mindset within a lot of the big systems and insurance companies that we have an answer to everything. And if you come in, if you come into the hospital system or practice or something, you have to fit in neatly into a box so we can use practice guidelines to treat you. And if we can't fit you into a box, we don't have those answers, and you kick to the curb, right? You're just kind of left to your own devices. And that's one of the things that I've always really did not enjoy and resonate with, because people that come to us for help, they have an obvious problem. Who are we to say that they're wrong? Who are we to say that we know better than they do what they're going through, right? We absolutely don't. And I could share lots of stories on that end, but I don't want to sound like a broken record there. But I to say that you can treat things like IBS through mindfulness practice, through hypnotherapy, makes perfect sense to me, just from a pure anatomic standpoint, even alone how our gut functions. But on the hypnotherapy, I think that's very intriguing. So you became a coach. When and where did the hypnotherapy start? How did that fit into your history?
I discovered a particular form of hypnotherapy about 7 years ago that was really, really powerful and transformative for me in a matter of weeks. So it's called rapid transformational therapy, or RTT. So I quickly went on to get trained and certified in that, and added that to the mix, combining hypnotherapy and coaching together. And then I guess 3 years ago, I've also added what's called heart healing, and it's a different form of therapeutic hypnotherapeutic healing. That's a different set of tools. So sometimes I use a hammer, sometimes I use a screwdriver, right? Sometimes I use RTT, sometimes I use heart healing. It just depends on what the client is presenting with and what's going to serve them best to get them to where they want to be. I had a new client who just started yesterday who has a fear of heights. It's like, I need to get rid of my fear of heights because it's interfering with my work. I'm like, okay. And I always have a intake session with my clients to hear more. What's the bigger story? And in talking with this person, um, what I learned was the fear of heights, the anxiety that's coming up, and that is just a symptom of the bigger problem of this person is just a workaholic. Like, there is nothing else in their life other than the work that they do. And I'm like, okay. And so in talking with them, intuitively, I know that I need to go here, here, and here. I need to look in these particular places, to go back to their childhood to see what mindsets were created there that had this person be so emotionally shut down that that the only thing in their life is their work. That's it. And it's just heartbreaking to me, right? So to being able to help somebody find a different path to move through life, to find more joy, to find fulfillment, to find satisfaction, that's what we're all here for, right? Not to be robots going through
Right.
life.
No, absolutely. We're humans. We need the human experience. And I like how you're describing, that these different tools, like a hammer and a screwdriver, right? The more tools you have in your arsenal, the more refined you can be in your approach, right? I mean, a nail is better with a hammer, but a screw is better with a screwdriver. So, do you have the right tools, right? They both do similar things to hold wood together, but sometimes the person that comes to you is a nail, and sometimes the person is a screw. And what do you have the right tools to help these people? So is this hard therapy, this new certification you just got?
It's yes, and it's a level 3. So um I became certified in heart healing, I guess 2.5, 3 years ago, somewhere in there. I discovered it. And so, of course, I added that to my toolbox. And now I've been through levels 2 and levels 3 and moving into level 4 here over the next few months. Because I can't help myself. I got to learn some new stuff. I'm like a little squirrel. I'm like, ooh, I got a new toy. I got a new thing. And let me use it and put it to good use.
Right, but you also want to be able to help people better, right? And the more experience you have, the more
Yeah.
tools you have in your arsenal, right? The more able you are to help different kinds of people. So how many levels are there, and what distinguishes the different levels then?
Um, Well, to date, there's three levels, right? The woman who's created heart healing in particular, her name's Natasha Bray, and she is an amazing creator. Like I've never seen anybody who creates as prolifically and as quickly as she does. I'm like, I cannot keep up, right? Um, so a lot of it is very divinely guided and intuitively downloaded to her. I'm actually excited because Thursday, she's from the UK. She lives in Wales and she's here in the Bay Area, and I get to have dinner with her on Thursday. So she's in town, going to be doing some filming with Joe Vitale. So it's pretty cool. Um,
That's Yeah, that's pretty exciting. That's awesome. I love the Bay Area. I've been out there a few times. It's a beautiful place to live, no doubt.
yeah, we're pretty spoiled,
Yeah.
especially when the sun's back out. We had a huge scary storm over the weekend. Power went out, everything was down,
Oh,
everything was flooding, but the sun's come back out today. So
yeah. So, speaking of sun coming out, let me ask you a bit of a detective story, a detective question then. Mind detective. Where did that come
yes.
from? What does that mean?
So a client actually gave that to me. They're like, Michelle, you're like a mind detective. You just like get in and you know exactly where to go and you find the clues and you put all the things together and you go, oh, there's the thing, and then you take it and you remove it. I'm like, yeah. I had another client just recently say, you're like a neurosurgeon. I'm like, ooh, okay. That's a whole nother level of mind detective, but yeah, that might give people the wrong idea. So yeah. I'm like, not quite. But yeah, it's really just about um the combination of the intake questions and the conversations that I have with clients and the intuitive hits that I get, where things are originating from, and it's able to help me direct the conversation with a client, whether they're in a hypnotherapy session or in a coaching session, to get at the root causes, because the thing that someone presents with is right up here at the surface level. I have a fear of heights. Okay. And then when we have a deeper conversation, it's like, oh no, there's all these other things going on underneath there that have been buried away, but I can see them and sense them. And so I'm able to use all of those data points to then get the client to a place of healing, and then all of that knowing gets poured into the custom transformation recordings that I create for each of my clients. So from all of those data points, the last portion of our hypnotherapy sessions is their transformation recording. So think of it as a cascade of words flowing over your subconscious mind, Felix, that you listen to every night as you drift off to sleep. It's mixed with very gentle binaural beat music. It's very relaxing. And it's intended to have you fall asleep so these words can wash over your subconscious mind. And the repetition of those words is what builds the new neural pathways in your brain, which is why I call my work rapid rewiring. Because we're rapidly rewiring your thinking to let go of the old beliefs and rebuild new pathways that say, yes, I am enough. Yes, I'm capable. Yes, I believe in myself. Yes, I'm worthy. I'm lovable. I'm deserving. Whatever those words that need to be for that particular client, that's what gets woven in a particular way, in a particular cadence, in my gentle hypnotherapy voice that has them go, oh, okay. So I'm in several networking groups and I have clients all over the place that I've worked with, and many of them will say, yeah, I love sleeping with Michele at night because they listen to my recordings every night as they go to sleep. I'm like, yep.
That's fantastic. That's a fantastic line. I'm kind of curious. So a friend of mine who I did my coach training with is now get working on her hypnotherapy certification as well. And in her mind, those two are still very separate, and she's keeping them somewhat distinct. But I can see the power of combining the two modalities. So where do you stand on that? Do you have like do you keep try to keep them somewhat separate, or do you bring it out as needed, or how do you approach that with your clients?
Oh no, they're completely integrated. So um, the predominance of my work is with one-to-one individuals. I have two group programs, and then I do work with teams in a different way. And so let's say you wanted to do some work with me, Felix, right? We would have a complimentary conversation so I can hear what's going on for you, where you're stuck, what you're challenged with. And from there, I can go, okay, you need a deep dive, you need this. And I can point you and go, here's some options for you, different ways to work with me. Oftentimes, folks work with me over 3 to 6 months. And I intentionally combine coaching with hypnotherapy. So we start with an intake coaching session. Then that guides me as to, okay, where do we need to go in our hypnotherapy session? And so each month, typically, we'll have a 2 hour hypnotherapy session followed over each week. Like, so the cadence is weekly sessions typically, by 2 or 3 coaching sessions. And then we'll have our next hypnotherapy session and a couple of coaching, and then our next hypnotherapy and a couple of coaching sessions. Because the coaching, what it allows us to do is to unpack the shifts and the transformations that happen in the hypnotherapy session. Because sometimes they're very subtle. Sometimes they're like knock you over the head. Like I had one client who had adrenal fatigue, chronic adrenal fatigue, and he texted me the next day and said, best 24 hours ever. Like there was such change in such a short period of time. And then it just kept getting better and better as we continued. So with the coaching, I'm able to see and sense the shifts energetically that's happening with someone and ask questions. So how are you feeling in your body today? Right? How versus how you were feeling a week ago. And they have a private online journal space where they have daily prompts, right? To check in with themselves. What am I feeling today? Right? Because oftentimes we operate from our head up, right? And so getting ourselves back into our bodies to feel what we need to feel in order to let go of what we need to let go is vital. So the coaching is about noticing what's shifting, but also, okay, now with this new perspective, we've just taken off these fear blinders you've been wearing for decades. Now what's available? Now what can you see around you, and then what are the steps that you need to take to move in that direction towards the things you say that you want in your life?
Right, absolutely. Like I said, I could definitely see how these two modalities work together and make both of them make, the coaching can make the hypnotherapy better, and the hypnotherapy can make the coaching better. So I can definitely see the
Yeah.
synergy between the two.
Yeah,
And I
they
think
supercharge each other.
yeah, I could totally see it. I think it's fascinating. It's really cool that you do that. So, but speaking of that, so who are the people you like to work with? Who are your clients? Who should reach out to you?
Yeah. So the folks who typically find me are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. They're successful career professionals, and yet there's something that's causing anxiety, burnout, overwhelm, imposter syndrome, perfectionism in their life. And they're like, I have to, this has to change. I can't tolerate this, whatever this is, any longer. It's getting in the way of me living my life. Um, and so they reach out to me. I do a lot of speaking, I do a lot of podcast interviews, I do a lot of writing. So people find me in different ways, but um, the folks who do best in the work that I do are those who have already done some level of personal development, perhaps, and they know that this doesn't feel right and they need to do something different, but they don't know what to do differently. So they're willing to step into having these conversations with me, because it's not like a here's the magic pill, Felix, and you'll be better, right? It's work, and there's discovery to do in that. So um, those are the folks that I love to work with, who get amazing results because they're willing to sit in the uncomfortableness of it sometimes, to make the changes that get them to where they want to be, to create the quantum leaps to where they really want to be in their lives.
Yeah, I mean, even in medicine, we have not found that magic pill, right? It's that magic pill does not exist, as much as people
Sure,
want
it's
it.
not
It's
the
like
red
the
pill or the blue pill.
yeah, right. Well, I mean, I think that's more of a coaching question, right? Yeah, which way do you want to go? Do you want to find out the truth and get better, or do you just want to keep living your life as it is right now and not ask any more questions, right? I mean, that's really the question between the red pill and the blue pill. So I want to ask you some questions. I wrote this networking book a few months ago, and it's indirectly one of the reasons you and I are even connected and talking here today. I don't think the book has made it to you yet, but um, I want to ask you a few questions out of that to figure out a little bit more what makes you tick. So, who or what is your source of motivation?
Who or what is my source of motivation? Um, my source of motivation is a deep need to create and to be of service, to um, help clients have those aha moments when they finally see themselves. That aha is like, that is my raison d'etre, right? It's like, right? It just lights me up and creates the the desire to just keep doing it.
Yeah, that's beautiful, and I can definitely see that interface for you, that between the creativity and the coaching, right? I mean, kind of like we alluded to earlier, in a way, you're helping people be artists of their own life to create something better, something different, right? And I think that's beautiful. What's a place you haven't been to yet but really want to visit?
Hmm. I would say the top of my bucket list is going to Africa on photo safari and spending time at the elephant sanctuary with the baby elephants, because I just need to love on some baby elephants. I don't know why. I've loved elephants since I was a small child, and I can't wait to go roll in the mud with them.
That's awesome. It's the element the elephant thing is, or let's say animal thing, is something that is kind of intriguing. So I've always been fascinated with penguins. Don't know why. My girlfriend is infatuated with turtles. Don't know why. Right, sea turtles specifically. You've got elephants. It's almost like, I don't know if it's like that spirit animal that we keep talking about with people. I don't know, but there's definitely something to. Yeah, a lot of people have some kind of connection with some kind of animal that sometimes defies all logic, and you just never know why that is. So I could definitely, but on the topic of animals, and I have to ask you this question. This is my favorite question out of the book. It's a really silly question. Would you rather have a cat that barks or a dog that meows?
Well, that's a very interesting question because I have cats and I've had many, many dogs and I have a bird in my life and they all make their own funny little noises. Um, I would like to have a bird that meows. I'm gonna throw you a curveball.
Oh, that's all right.
So I have a Goffin cockatoo named Alice, and she is 28 years old and large and in charge and rules the roost for sure. And she hasn't learned how to bark or meow, but she does say hi Alice. She has a lisp. What are you doing? And what's up?
Wow. 28 years old. So how long do these birds live usually?
Her breed as a Goffin cockatoo to probably 40 years old.
Okay. Oh
So
wow. That's a long
she's
time.
midlife, but apparently she's doing great because she laid me an egg last week randomly.
Aw. What color is that
Yeah,
egg?
it's white. It's
Oh, just
about
a regular
this
plain
big.
old one. Oh, okay.
It's
What'd you
just
do with
plain
the
old white egg. Yeah.
What'd you do with the egg?
What did I do with the egg?
Yeah.
Or she sits on it and then like, okay, now I'm bored, right? Because it's not nothing's going to happen. She doesn't have a
Right.
boyfriend, so um, so this is probably strange, but I have a random strange egg collection. So because I used to have a cockatiel
Okay.
who laid eggs. I have little tiny cockatiel eggs, and then Alice eggs, and then I have a goose egg, and then I have an ostrich egg.
Oh wow.
So you know,
Well, but that's also
it's
perfectly normal to as humans, I think, to sometimes collect eccentric things. That's just who we are. I mean, again, it goes back to these
yeah,
different interests that we all have.
that's
Um,
just one of my quirky bits.
yeah, no, that's perfectly fine. So, the other segment of the show is every guest gets to ask the next guest a question, not knowing who that person is or when we're even going to record. So, Claudia Wyatt left you this question. What has your life been preparing you for?
That's a lovely question. What has my life been preparing me for? My life has been preparing me for to fully own all of who I am, all my gifts and talents, and to use them to the very best of my abilities to help others.
That's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
All right, well, now it's your turn. You get to pay it forward. What would you like to ask the next guest on the show?
What is one small thing you can do today that will create ripple effects far beyond what you will ever realize?
Far beyond what you will ever realize. Okay, awesome. Got it written down, and I'll be sure to ask the next guest when that happens. That's so
How
awesome. So,
exciting.
yeah, I know. And I guess you'll have to watch the next episode to figure out what the answer is to the question.
That's a
Where can
nice
people?
cliffhanger there. Well
I
done.
know, right? Where can people reach out to you? How can they connect with you?
Sure. You can always find out all about me on the socials, right? MicheleMolitor.com is my website. You can find me on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram. I'm under Rapid Rewire. So I'm always posting inspirational ideas and content and resources. Just getting ready to launch my new Unshakable Woman series. So be on the lookout for that coming to a social thread near you.
That's awesome. Fantastic. Any last words from you for the world?
Um, I would just remind your listeners to know that they are enough, perfectly imperfect, just as they are.
Perfectly imperfect. I love that. You are what? Perfectly flawless?
Flawsome. I am
Flawesome.
perfectly
That's what.
flawsome.
Flawsome. Very good. I,
Yep.
I I knew there was something in there with that flaw. I love that.
I am flawed and awesome all in the same moment.
Yeah, it's perfect. I love it. I truly love that combination. But you wrote this book with someone, right?
Yes, my co-author is Tom Collins, and we are putting the last edits on it now, and hope to have it published in the coming weeks, which
That's
is very
awesome.
exciting.
That's exciting. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we'll all be looking forward to that. Thanks for being here. Truly amazing conversation with you, Michele. You've got a wonderful story and you do some amazing work. I think it's exciting. So thanks for being here. Truly, thank you for taking the
Thank you.
time.
Really, my joy to be here with you, Felix, and I appreciate the work that you're doing in the world. And I really hope, and this was what I'm going to say when the recording cut out. I really hope that you can take your work into working with more doctors, so more doctors can open up their thinking about what's possible and how powerful our bodies can be to heal ourselves.
All right, I really hope you enjoyed that. The questions that I asked towards the end are from my new book, The Simple Networking Tool. It's a great book that redefines how we network. It's all about who someone is and not what they are. So if you want to get your own book, it's available on Amazon. If you want to learn more, there's videos about it here on YouTube. So you can check out this amazing new social science experiment. I'm so excited for it. If you do get a book and you do start your own, please let me know how it goes and what your experience is like. I'm working on the second edition and I want to make it the best one yet. So be sure to tag me, let me know how it goes. Thanks for watching.